So I think something too that people don't understand or know about is that the collaborative process is that the attorneys and the mental health professionals and the financial neutrals, that they are collaboratively trained, and you can't just go to any attorney and you're not going to hear about the collaborative process if they don't practice it and if they're not trained. And I think that a lot of times people just kind of jump the gun and they don't think about, you know, which process would be the best fit for them. And they just go to like just any, you know, their friend told them, well, you just go to this attorney over here, and they may only do litigated cases and they may not do collaborative. So can one of you talk about how does one find a collaborative attorney or someone that's trained in collaborative to kind of be able to at least recognize that there are attorneys that are different than kind of all the rest, and that they're trained in collaborative, like, and not just anyone can do it. Like you have to be trained. Right. And so can one of you talk about that?
Sure. So I would say for Florida, the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals, that is, they have a website. So I oftentimes direct potential clients to that website. Also, the local practice groups that I mentioned earlier, each of them has a website. So I would direct the potential clients to that. I would also direct, if the potential client becomes a client and says, yes, I do want to proceed collaboratively, then I would send a letter to the other spouse or the other parent, inviting them to participate in the collaborative process. And in that letter, I do include websites that they could go to find an attorney of their choice.
Okay, that makes it easier.
Kristen, I do exactly the same thing. In New York, I am a member of the LICDP, which is the Long Island Collaborative Divorce Professionals, and another Long Island group also. I'm involved in the I'm on the board of directors of the New York State Association of Collaborative Professionals, and also a member of the international group as well that Kristen was speaking about. I provide all of the websites to the other spouse when reaching out to them to see if they would be willing to participate in the collaborative process, so that they can find a professional who is collaboratively trained. And it's not just the attorneys, it's also the financial neutrals, it's also the family support specialists, so that they can start to build their team. But yes, it's important to find someone who is trained in this and experienced in this type of work, because you do find that sometimes, you know, attorneys will say that they practice collaboratively and perhaps might not even realize or be experienced in the formality of what real true collaborative practice is.
Right.
You know, so you want to work with someone who is trained.
Right. And is the burden of finding if you find your collaborative attorney, is the burden of finding your financial neutral and your mental health neutral on the client, or do the attorneys kind of like figure out who would be the best fit for their little team that they're building?
It depends for me on the client and what the client feels comfortable with. Oftentimes I find that they trust me and they hired me to represent them. So they're going to lean more so and defer to a suggestion that I provide. I normally say, here are 3 options, and we would have an interview process, because I know personality comes into play, and, you know, it's about what's best for the client, my client, as well as the other side. So we want to make sure we have a solid team where everybody feels comfortable. And I think that's helpful to the pushing forward of the case. So that's what I oftentimes do.
Yeah, that's how I handle it too. You don't want to make the decision for them, but you do want to give them some guidance as to how to even begin to find someone who would be appropriate to handle this matter. So I do just the same. I try to give them a few different names, and like I said, give them those websites to lead them in the right direction.